Good evening and welcome. You're watching Left, Right and Centre this Sunday evening. I'm Vishnu Shom. Tonight across the country, NDTV was happy to participate, in fact through the day, in an event which is very close to our heart. The Fortis NDTV More to Give campaign is a campaign which has one goal: to save lives. Every year a whopping 56 lakh Indians die hoping and praying to receive a live organ. But sadly in India, organ donors are almost impossible to find. There is nothing more noble than to give to others a part of you when you've died, when you've passed away. That part of you can be kept living, and it can keep a person living as well. Tonight, some of India's leading organ transplant experts and those who have benefited from organ transplant and counsellors actively involved in the process of encouraging people to actually go out there and believe and contribute to organ transfers.
We have 1 billion people here, and there are a lot of while there are a lot of people understand it exceptionally well and understand all the details behind it, there are a lot of misconceptions as well. The reality is that we are committed to saving every life to every extent that can be done, and I think educating everybody around within the hospital system in terms of what happens, how it happens, how sensitively it's done.
For 16 years I gave my country blood, sweat and trophies. I have more to give. I take more to give challenge and pledge to donate my organs after I pass on.
I would urge people not to be stingy with their body parts after their death, because it's literally of no use to anybody, but it could save a life.
It's the gift, and the only person who could give you the gift today is either your mother and your parents and God. So just imagine being a bit of God.
It's such an important campaign. It's something we feel so much for. It's something which can make the lives, a difference in the lives of lakhs of people in our country. The numbers are absolutely horrific. The number of people whose lives can actually be saved is something we really need to consider. Joining us now, Dr. Z.S. Meherwal is the Director of Cardiac Surgery at the Fortis Escorts Heart Institute. Thanks so very much for being with us. Roy Matthews, a transplant coordinator and a grief counsellor. Thanks very much, Roy. Roy plays a very important role. He's actually somebody who goes out to families and says, look, if you've lost a near and dear one, do try and understand that a part of the person who you've lost can actually be part of a living person. And so go out and be an organ donor as far as your relative is concerned. And Nazneen Patel is a recipient of cadaver lungs and joins us now. Thank you, Nazneen, for agreeing to talk to us. Let me come across to you first, Dr. Meherwal, and let's get straight to the points, because there are so many questions which people have which remain unanswered. One issue, it's a myth, is that organ and tissue donation means that the body of the person who's lost their life will be mutilated, and that's one of the reasons why people don't want to go through with it. Is this
absolutely
true?
Yeah, well, this is a very, very common myth that the body will be mutilated after the donation. The organ retrieval, which basically means that we take out the organs from the body, is a very, very specific technique, and it is exactly the same as an operation is performed in the operation theatre. And there is a team of doctors who perform this operation. So we make a very clear incision, as we'll do in any operation, take out the organs, and at the end of the operation we will stitch the body as it is before. So this is exactly like an operation. There is no disfigurement, no mutilation of the body.
Roy, a lot of people believe that there's confusion about being in a coma and being brain dead. When you come to families and explain that, look, your relative or your friend is brain dead, Is there resistance sometimes at that stage, and what do you need to explain to them?
Definitely there is always a resistance. People do not understand basically what's the difference between a brain dead and a patient who's in coma. So when you start, it's the duty of any doctor who is in ICU or who is responsible there to explain to the family what is the condition. Is it a coma or is it brain dead? Can the patient be revived? So once the initial process starts from there, once you explain to the family, most of the people, they understand it and they cooperate with it. Sometimes it is not easy to accept it at a very earlier stage, but it takes time. You have to give the time for the patient, the family to understand what it is.
Sure.
So I think I'll just add there. See, so obviously the family feels that the patient is unconscious,
yeah,
and is in coma and will wake up, any time if the treatment continues. So there is a very clear distinction between the coma when the brain actually is functioning and the organs are functioning. When we say that the brain is dead, there are no activities of the brain.
Right.
And whether you continue treatment for a day or 2 or 3 days, the patient actually is a dead patient. So that's why brain dead is a brain dead patient.
Nazneen Patel joins us from Mumbai. Nazneen, thank you so much for agreeing to speak to us. How have the lungs of somebody else made such a difference in your life? Nazneen, can you hear me? नाज़नीन सुनाई दे रहा है?
हाँ.
नाज़नीन ये बताइए, आपका जो लंग ट्रांसप्लांट हुआ था, एक डोनर ने आपको उनका लंग्स दिया था, आपका कंडीशन उस वक्त क्या था और किस स्थिति में लंग्स मिले थे?
उस वक्त मेरी हालत बहुत ख़राब हो चुकी थी, चल नहीं पा रही थी, मैं बात भी नहीं कर पा रही थी कि कोई दो जन मेरे साथ बैठा तो मैं बैठ नहीं सकती थी। मुझे ऐसा होता था मुझे अकेले रहना चाहिए, किसी का आवाज़ नहीं सुन सकती थी, बहुत ज़्यादा मुश्किल हो गई थी, खाना नहीं खा रही थी, पानी भी नहीं पी सकती और ऑक्सीजन ले रही थी 4-5 महीने से।
जी, और अब आपका कंडीशन क्या है? क्योंकि आपको कई महीनों हॉस्पिटल में रहना पड़ा, आपका काफ़ी प्रॉब्लम्स महसूस हुए आपका, अब आपका कंडीशन क्या है?
अब मुझे अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह बहुत ज़्यादा अच्छा लग रहा है, पहले की तरह नॉर्मल लाइफ लग रही है। पहले तो मुंह धोना भी मुश्किल था, अब बहुत अच्छा लगता है।
Well, there you have it. That's an example of somebody who's got a second life, as it were. Doctor, before we began this program, you were telling me and explaining to me how time is of essence in actually carrying out these operations, because an organ can only last a finite period of time. What were some of the most challenging moments that you as a surgeon have faced in actually bringing a live organ across?
Right. So I'm basically a heart transplant surgeon. And in heart transplant, actually the time probably is one of the most important and very, very crucial when it comes to the outcomes of the heart transplant. So we have a window period of about 4 to 5 hours in which we have to retrieve the heart from the donor center, which may be very far from our hospital. We have to bring that heart to the hospital where the transplant is to be performed, and we have to do the actual transplant. To give you an idea, recently the transplant which we did, the donor was in Mumbai in a hospital. So we had to retrieve the heart from that hospital, bring it to the airport, fly to Delhi airport, from Delhi airport to the hospital, and do the actual transplant. So the coordination between our retrieval team, which is taking out the heart, and the transplant team, which is in Delhi, has to be very crucial, and we take the help of the transport authorities, including the police, which creates the green corridor, and also the airport authorities and the airlines in this process. Because beyond a certain period, the heart doesn't remain viable. So it's very, very
And important. You were telling me this incredible story of how a heart got from Mumbai to Delhi in just under 3 hours. That's all. How did that happen?
Yeah. So basically, as I mentioned, the coordination is the most important thing. So as soon as we got information that there is a heart available in Mumbai, so we started our process of sending our team. We discussed with the airlines so that they don't waste time. See, going to that hospital is not important because you can take any amount of time. But once the heart has been retrieved, you have to run as fast as possible. So we coordinated with the hospital authorities, the Mumbai traffic police, to create the green corridor so that as soon as our team takes out the heart from the operation theatre.
Yeah.
They sits in the van, comes to the airport, and then we coordinated with the airport authorities for the security so that they don't waste time on the security. Then to the airlines so that the flight takes off as soon as, and that's how we did.
Roy, what about medical illnesses? A lot of people would say that, look, I don't want to partake of this because, I've been unwell, or the person who's lost their life has perhaps been unwell through diabetes and things like that. Is that something which comes in the way of organ donation?
Yes, but a thorough check of the history, past history is always taken before any patient is taken into even consideration that can that patient be a donor. Past history is always important. Then we have the current blood test done, the routine investigations always been done. Once the clearance has been given at the present from the doctors, then we think about that patient for as a potential donor.
Okay. Doctor, the reason we are really discussing this, among the various reasons that we are, is that in India, in a nation of over 1 billion, there's not even one donor in 1 million. These numbers are ridiculous in a country as large as ours. And obviously there are myths as well. But is there also a concern that a large number of people who may not live in our metros, who may want to contribute, cannot do so because facilities to harvest or live organs and to transplant it simply doesn't exist outside just a handful of centers?
Absolutely. So I think there are many reasons why the donations is so low in our country, and like you mentioned, there are countries where the donation rates are something like 45 to 50. For example, in Spain, about 50 donations per million. The first important factor, of course, is the awareness among not only the society. This is very interesting, I must tell you, even among our medical fraternity, the awareness is not to that extent. So, for example, if the patient is admitted, for example, in a remote city and it gets admitted in an ICU there, and if they feel that the patient is brain dead, the thought of this patient being a donor doesn't even come to the medical fraternity.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't come to their mind, they won't even discuss with the family.
Sure.
Same thing comes to the society. Unless the people know that the organs can be donated without any issue and without any problem to the family, they won't do it. So that is one part of it. The second is, like you mentioned, there has to be a committee which is called a brain death declaration committee, and it's not available in all the hospitals. Yeah. It consists of four doctors, and if you don't have that committee, you can't declare the patient brain dead. And third, the retrieval again can't be in any center. So it has to be a certified retrieval center to retrieve the organ and then to be transported to
and the training of doctors in this is also critical, because not all doctors can do this at all. Absolutely. It's a specialization, right?
Absolutely. So this needs the
infrastructure. Policy?
This needs the infrastructure. This needs the awareness among the society, among the doctors. This needs, I would say, a lot of efforts from us, but as well as from the government also. Right. As I mentioned, even for transport. I mean, like we have been talking to the authorities that the defense can help us. Yeah. They have the mechanisms to transport the organs very fast. So I think we, as the society, in collaboration with the government agencies, we all need to work together to make sure that the number of donations increase, so that we can save the lives of so many patients.
Roy, is it often a problem that people actually sign up and say that yes, I will donate my organs if something happens to me, but they've not passed on that message to anybody? So when they do lose their lives, or if they lose their lives, nobody knows that their organs were available to be harvested.
Yes. So whenever you pledge for an organ donation, so the first thing that you get is a card similar to this. Yeah. So when you receive this card, you should first inform your family who is close to you, because they might not be knowing about it. At the time when something happens, the family might not be in a stage to even think or remember it. So we should specifically state it to someone that this is your wish. Right. So it saves a lot of time at that process, because the time for an organ retrieval to donate, the organs are viable for a certain amount of time. So it saves a lot of time. A lot of time is wasted in which you counsel a patient and a family. If your family is already ready for it, then it saves half the battle is already won there.
Yeah. And doctor, one final question to you, the entire issue of costs, is that something which is a big concern in India? Those who want to go through the surgery have to be willing to spend a great deal, because institutionally in our country it remains a problem, and it is a very complicated surgery.
Well, the cost always remains an issue in our country for any medical treatment. For any medical treatment, the same thing applies to the transplant as well. But it is not as expensive as a lot of other therapies. And I must say the cost is definitely coming down. It can further be reduced by collaboration among various agencies, and it certainly can be made affordable to the larger society if you make efforts in this direction. But cost will always remain a concern for a large. And in fact, the government is also working. Just to give an idea, the Tamil Nadu government actually has taken this into part of their program. And the patients who need the transplant, the government actually helps them.
But here is the flip side, Roy, of the entire cost argument. There is a sense among people, because they may not really know, that it costs for a donor as well. It doesn't cost anything for a donor. It's only the recipient and their friends and family who actually pay, right? Yes. So isn't that an important message that also needs to go out, that if you choose to be a donor, it's not as if somebody is going to be paying from among your friends to have your organs to give to somebody else. That doesn't happen, does it?
No, definitely not. For the donor, there is no expense from their side. It is only the recipient who has to charge, who is being charged for whatever the organs he is being getting for transportation or whatever the operation that is being done. So the basic expenses have been given.
All right, well, Doctor, thank you so much for being with us. Roy and Azim, thank you all very much for being with us. And you know, this is a campaign that's so important. It's called More to Give campaign, and it's something we hope that people across our country actually think about very, very closely. It's a decision which can definitely help to save a life.